Okay, so the next chapter here is the chapter 15, which is the cardiovascular system. And the cardiovascular system, obviously, cardio means heart, vascular means vessels, and vessels means arteries and veins. What's the difference? Arteries take the blood away from the heart. Veins take the blood back to the heart. Is that blood oxygenated or not? Does it have a lot of oxygen or not? It doesn't matter. This is the classic definition. Artery is the blood vessel that take the blood away from the heart. Vein is the blood vessel that take the blood to the heart, to the heart. So we will discuss the details, but you'll start from the heart and you go to the aorta, which is the largest artery, and then it goes to divide like a tree, like from the aorta to large arteries to small arteries, like the tree have branches, branches, smaller, smaller, smaller. Same thing. When you pump the blood out, it go to the trunk, the big tree, the big part of the tree, which is the aorta, followed by large arteries, whatever the arteries, we will discuss it. And then you go to smaller arteries, and then you go to the arterioles, IOLE at the end means tiny arterioles, until you go to the smallest, like the capillaries. Like look at the tree, you will see trunk, big branches, smaller branches, smallest branches, and then you see the fruits at the end or the leaves. This is the same thing. Aorta, large arteries, small arteries, arterioles, capillaries. So the capillaries is like the last thing, like the fruits. And then the other side, if you go down the tree again, you start from the fruits to the tiny, very small branches, to the small branches, to the medium-sized branches, to the large branches, until you go back to another trunk. So like two trees together like this. So we will have two circuits, two of those. The blood, when it leaves the heart, it doesn't just go in one direction. It doesn't go to the body and then return back from the body. No, it also go to the lung and come back from the lung. So we have two circuits that alternate. So the blood leave the heart, go to the lung, get oxygenated, come back to the heart, and the heart pump it in the other circuit because you get oxygen. So next circle is the blood come back from the lung, you send it to the body carrying oxygen, the body will take the oxygen and release carbon dioxide, and then you take it back to the heart. When you take it back to the heart, you don't have oxygen anymore. So you need to send it to the pulmonary circuit. Go to the lung, get oxygenated, come back from the lung. Going to the lung and coming back, this circuit here, the two trees, this is pulmonary circuit. Now, when it's returned back to the heart, it's oxygenated, ready. You pump it out to the other circuit, systemic. Go to the blood, go to the body, different body systems and organs. They will take the oxygen, release carbon dioxide, and then you return back to the heart. So you always alternate heart to the lung, back to the heart. And then from the heart to the body and back to the heart. When back to the heart, you go to the lung and come back, and then you go to the body and come back. So you always alternate between those two systems, pulmonary or two circuits, pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. So if you look at this, we usually start from here. So this this blue here and this blue here, both of those are like the trunk of the tree. The deoxygenated blood, we can start anywhere. A circuit is a complete circle, so we can start anywhere. But we usually start from here. Usually we start from this. So this is the superior vena cava, and this is inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava is bringing the deoxygenated blood coming back from the organs, the tissues, with low oxygen from the upper part of the body. The inferior vena cava will bring the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. All of this blood that's poor in oxygen, the body took it already, upper part and lower part, and then it will gather in this right atrium, which is the heart is four chambers. This is usually will start here. Always start here, right atrium. So deoxygenated blood from the upper part and lower part of the body collect at the right atrium. deoxygenated. Then it will leave the right atrium and go to the right ventricle, deoxygenated. Doing that, it will pass through a valve here, and this valve is called either the right atrioventricular valve or the tricuspid valve. So now the blood is in the right side of the heart, and we will start the first circuit. It will leave and go to the pulmonary trunk. Sometimes they call it the pulmonary artery, but pulmonary trunk is more accurate. In order to leave the right ventricle and go to the pulmonary trunk, there is another valve here that's called the pulmonary semilunar valve. Go to the pulmonary trunk. Will divide into right and left pulmonary arteries. Right pulmonary artery, which is this, go to the right lung. Left pulmonary artery, go to the left lung. Get oxygenated. And then it will go back to the pulmonary veins. But now you have 2 and 2. Instead of one artery and one artery, 2 veins and 2 veins. Returning back to the left atrium. Now it's oxygenated. This is the second half. It will pass through a valve here that's called the bicuspid valve or mitral valve or left AV valve going to the left ventricle. The left ventricle contracts, it will go to the aorta. It has to go through another valve here that's called aortic semilunar valve. So now we have 4 valves. What is the valve? It's one-way door. It will allow the blood to go one way and doesn't come back. If it come back, it's an issue. We will discuss it. But you're sending the blood that's oxygenated now, and it will go to the aorta, ascending aorta, aortic arch, and then it will go to the upper part of the body and the lower part of the body. The body will take its oxygen, release carbon dioxide, and then it will return back inferior vena cava from the lower parts, superior vena cava from the upper parts. Now it's deoxygenated. Right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, right and left pulmonary arteries, right lung, left lung. Get rid of carbon dioxide and gain oxygen. And then go back through the veins, 2 on the right, 2 in the left. Now it is oxygenated. The lung oxygenated it already. So that now the oxygenated or oxygen-rich blood go to the left atrium, to the left ventricle, to the aorta, ascending arch, and then will go descending aorta to the lower part of the body, and then other arteries will go up to the upper part of the body. The body systems will take their oxygen from the blood and also release carbon dioxide to get rid of it, coming back to the heart, and this circle alternates all the time throughout your entire life. So the heart itself is 4 chambers, 2 atria on top, the upper chambers, and 2 ventricle at the bottom or the lower chambers. The heart is different, the size is different from person to person, but in all cases, it's located here, behind your sternum, not exactly in the middle. It's a little bit toward the left. So it's behind your sternum, a little bit to the left. And the heart does not look like most of the pictures. Like it should always show you like 2 atria here and 2 ventricle at the bottom, something like this. 2 atria up here, it's not like this. It is tilted. So this is how it actually looks like. This looks like an actual picture here. So it's behind the sternum, in between the 2 lungs. What is that space in which it is located? It's called the mediastinum. The mediastinum. And it's occupying the area, so it's behind the sternum, like from what to what? From 2nd to the 5th. 2nd to the 5th intercostal space. So if you count your ribs, it is 1, 2, from here to the 5th. From 2nd to the 5th. This part up here of the heart, on top here, the white part is called the base. And this pointing end right here is called the apex. The base is up and to the right, and the apex is down and to the left, as you see here, exactly like this. This is very accurate, unlike other pictures. So here it is. This is the base that contain all these major arteries, and this is the apex. Look, if you notice the heart, is behind the sternum, but it's not exactly in the middle. It's not located exactly in the middle. Look, you can see it more on the left side. So it's pointing down and it's more moving toward the left. And this will affect the left lung. The left lung will be different because the heart pushing on it. We will discuss that in the respiratory system. But this is how it looks like. The base of the heart is up and right. The apex, which is this, is left and down. And it is it's occupying more to the left side. You can see a good part of the heart here, but nothing here. The heart is surrounded by serous membrane. We talked about the membranes before. Remember, the lung is surrounded by two bags, two layers, which is the pleura. The heart, on the other hand, is surrounded by two layers, which is called the pericardium. Pericardium. Those two layers here. Look at this. Like I have a double bag. Like get a bag, put another bag inside of it, and put your phone inside. The phone will be surrounded by two bags. Those two bags together is the pericardium. The inner one that's closer to the phone, if you put the phone in two bags, the one that's closer to the phone is the visceral pericardium, and the other one outside, the other bag outside, is called the parietal. Visceral means viscera, means it's adherent to the organ. Parietal means outside. Visceral and parietal pericardium. Visceral and parietal pericardium. The visceral pericardium itself, since it is adherent to the heart, it counts toward the layers of the heart. When we talk about the layers of the heart, it is endo, myo, and epicardium. So the visceral is serving two purposes. It is the outer layer of the heart, which is epicardium. At the same time, it's serving as the inner layer of the pericardium. Like again, I get two bags and I put like a ball inside those two bags. The one inside, which is the viscera, is adherent to the ball enough to consider it the outer layer of the ball itself. It is adherent enough that we call it the visceral layer, which is epicardium as well, which is the inner of the pericardium, the inner of the two bags. But at the same time, since it is adherent to the ball, I call it the outer of the ball itself. We call it the epicardium, serving two purposes. So visceral pericardium is epicardium. It's serving both purposes. Now, there is also another fibrous layer outside of the pericardium. So this is something additional that we didn't talk about before. Like when I mentioned the lung is inside like two bags, visceral and parietal pleura. Here, you have the same thing, visceral and parietal pericardium. You have two bags, but you surround the two bags with an external one, additional one, fibrous tissue, and we call that the fibrous pericardium. And now the question is, why do you have extra one, which is the fibrous pericardium, outside of the two bags, outside of the two layers? Why didn't see that in the lung? Because this is going to limit the expansion of the heart. Because the blood, when you contract a lot, if there is no limit, it can actually rupture. So in order to prevent that, you're adding this additional one. So here it is, the two layers. If I have a cut section of the heart, of the wall of the heart, you will see endocardium. Endo means innermost, inside, endocardium, this smooth layer innermost. The middle, which is the thickest one, is myocardium. Myo, translation, muscle. MMM, write it down. MMM. Middle, myocardium. What was the third one? Muscles, I'm sorry. Middle muscle myocardium. Middle muscle myocardium. Myocardium, myo. So here it's myocardium, but the rule here, MMM, the 3M, apply for all hollow organs. You will see it a lot. Just remember this rule. MMM. The middle layer is always muscle, MM, and it's always called myo. Middle muscle, myo. Middle muscle, myo. Here it's myocardium. It can be called anything else. Myo, myo. Myo means muscle. So middle myo, middle myo muscle, middle myo muscle. The middle layer is always muscle, and you call it myo something. Here, since we're talking about the heart, it's called myocardium. So endocardium, endo means innermost, cardium means heart. This is the innermost layer of the heart. Myocardium, the muscle layer of the heart, which is the middle, middle, muscles. And this is the thickest one. The epi means cover. Epicardium means the outermost or the covering layer of the heart. Epicardium. Here is the epicardium, the outermost. This epicardium being the outermost is the inner layer of the pericardium. Look, here is the parietal pericardium, and this is the visceral pericardium. This is the visceral pericardium or the epicardium? Both of them. It is because it's adherent to the heart. So we count it both ways. Okay? Like if I have 3 students, 1, 2, 3. Number 1, give the ball to number 2. And number 2, give the ball to number 3. Now, number 2, are you the one who's receiving the ball from 1, or are you the one who's giving the ball to number 3? Both of them. Both of them. So this layer is the outer layer of the heart, epicardium, and the inner of the pericardium, of the 2 layers of the pericardium, so you call it visceral pericardium as well. Now, the visceral and parietal pericardium, the 2 layers, the 2 bags are not adherent to each other. There is a space in between. This space is not empty. It contains fluid for lubrication, so the 2 bags can move against each other smoothly. So here is epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. Endocardium is the innermost, myocardium is the middle one, the muscle that contract, and the outer one is the which serve as epicardium and visceral pericardium, and this is the protective one, the outermost. Now the chambers are right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. I'm going by the sequence of the blood. You get the blood into right atrium, go to the right ventricle. Lung, come back, left atrium, left ventricle. To the body, coming back, right atrium, right ventricle. Go to the lung, come back, left atrium, left ventricle. To the body, and so on. Now, there are differences between these 4 chambers. The upper chambers are the atria. These are thin-walled chambers, while the ventricles, on the other hand, are thick-walled. Especially the left ventricle is even thicker than the right ventricle, and I will explain it. But generally speaking, here's number 1. The 2 atria on top are thin-walled. The 2 ventricles at the bottom are thick-walled, but they are not exactly the same. The thick-walled ventricle, the left is even thicker than the right. Okay? And I will explain it, why. But let me explain first why the atria are thinner than the ventricles. Because the atria are on top. When the blood comes to the atria, by gravity, it will go down to the ventricles. You don't need a lot of force to push it down. So why do you need like bulk of strong muscles to push the blood down? It will, even if you don't have any muscles, most of it will go down by gravity. No need for this muscle. On the other hand, the ventricles, they need to contract and push the blood to other organs outside. It's not within, not like the atria, just move it down to the ventricle. It's within the heart. But the ventricle push it out of the heart and it can travel to a long distance. You have to create a strong force by these strong muscles so that it can travel to a distance. This is the explanation of the atria versus the ventricle, but I mentioned that the left ventricle, everything that I'm talking about is important, by the way. And remember this. I made these slides to contain like 95, 99% of what you need to know, so that you don't need the textbook much unless you like looking for 100% or something. But even if you wanted an A or A plus, you can get it from the slides, but everything in the slides, unless I tell you this is not important. If I didn't say that, anything in the slides is important. Okay, so let's agree on that. Everything in the slide. I'm not asking you to go through the whole entire textbook. I'm adding and adding to these slides to make it as complete as, it's not 100%, but it's as complete as possible. When I see something that's missing, I add it. But I'm trying to make it a very useful source. And instead of like textbook, this is a lot. This is a lot. But let's agree on this. You need to go through all the slides. You are responsible for the slides. The questions will come from the slides. Okay, if there's something missing, I will try to add it. But 95, some 99%, whatever, is in the slides. So do not miss anything in the slides, unless this is the only exception if I tell you this is not important. If I didn't say that, you need to study it so that you don't miss any questions. So now the other thing is, what you said that both ventricles are thick, but the left ventricle is even thicker. Why? Why, if you compare right and left, the left is thicker? Both of them are thicker than the atria anyway, but why the left is thicker than the right? Here is why. It all depends on the function. Right ventricle, you need to contract strong enough to push the blood up, out to the lung. The lung is right beside the heart. Even though it's outside of the heart and you're traveling to some distance, it's not a huge distance. It's right beside it. So it is as strong, but not as strong as the left, because the left, on the other hand, you need to be strong enough and thick enough to push the blood and create strong pressure that is enough to push the blood to run to a big distance, like all the way to the top of your head and to the bottom to your foot, all the way down to the foot. Like if I give you like one of these toys car, and I want you to move it from here to here, like 2 feet or 3 feet, you'll just push it like this. But if I want you to push it for 20 feet, you're going to give it a really strong push. This is exactly the same that's happening regarding left, which you give the blood to the systemic. It's systemic to the body organs that can go all the way 5 feet, 4 feet, all the way to your foot. Versus the right ventricle, the lung is right beside. It's not even above or under. It's right beside it. So that's the explanation why. Now, I already mentioned how the blood moves from chamber to chamber, passing through these valves. The function of these valves, we don't have to go through one by one, because all of them are doing the same function. It allows the blood to move in one direction only and prevent it from coming back. That's it. That's it. Allow the blood to move in one direction, doesn't go back. That's it, simply. Depending on which one of them are we talking about, this will give us the details. Like tricuspid, what's the function? We just mentioned it. Allow the blood to move in one direction, doesn't come back. Yes, from what to what? This is the details. Tricuspid is in between the right atrium and right ventricle. So allow the blood to move from right atrium to right ventricle and doesn't come back. Next one, you are in the right ventricle now. The blood is pushed out to the pulmonary trunk, passing through the pulmonary valve. So what's the function of the pulmonary valve? Same function. Allow the blood to move in one direction, doesn't come back. Yes, from what to what? From the right atrium to the pulmonary trunk. Now pulmonary arteries, lung, coming back, pulmonary veins, left atrium. Now the blood's in the left atrium. It will go from the left atrium to the left ventricle, passing by the bicuspid, also known as mitral, also known as left atrioventricular valve. What's the function of the mitral or bicuspid valve? Same function. Allow the blood to move in one direction, doesn't go back. From what to what? Mitral or bicuspid The blood move from right atrium, left atrium to left ventricle and doesn't go back. That's it. Last one, you are in the left ventricle now, and you're pushing the blood out. It will go through the aortic small lunar valve to the ascending aorta, to the aorta in general. So what's the function of the aortic small lunar valve? Same function, but from left ventricle to the aorta and doesn't come back. That's it. So here it is, right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. This is the right AV valve, also known as tricuspid. This is a left AV valve, also known as bicuspid, but the extra nickname, mitral. They use it a lot. These are the four chambers. And if you noticed, look at this, look at the wall. The atria are thinner than the ventricles. But look again, the left is even thicker than the right. Another thing, here's another thing. Here are the valves. Each one of those valves, look at the tricuspid valve. There are fibers here attaching this valve to these finger-like muscles that look like finger-like projection. Look at these. So what is this fibers and what are these muscles? These cords or fibers are called chorda tendini, that the cord-like tendons that attach the muscle to the valve. What's the muscle? Papillary muscle. What's papillary? Finger-like. Papillary muscles. Why are you having this attachment? Why don't you just leave the valve like free like this? Because these fibers attach the valve, the free border of the valve, the leaflets, down to the papillary muscles. Every time when you contract, papillary muscles contract. It will pull down on the leaflets so that the leaflets does not flip backwards and the blood will go back to the other chamber, like this. If the blood is moving from right atrium to left atrium, okay, it passed through. Then when you contract the ventricles, it will push on these leaflets. If you don't have these chorda tendini and muscles, it will flip backwards and the blood will go back from right atrium to the right ventricle. That doesn't happen. Why? Because this is pulling down on it. It cannot flip backward. If it happens, it's called regurg, and it is a disease. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, bringing the blood to the right atrium, passing through tricuspid valve to the right ventricle, leaving through the pulmonary semilunar valve to the pulmonary trunk, to the right and left pulmonary arteries, right pulmonary artery to the right lung, left pulmonary artery to the left lung, get oxygenated and come back. It is coming back. 2 and 2. So remember this. The veins here are oxygenated. This is extremely important to remember. Here is the definition again. Artery is any blood vessel that take the blood away from the heart. Vein is the vessel that take the blood back to the heart, irrespective of oxygenated or not. It happened that 99%, most of the time, in the systemic circulation, the arteries carry oxygenated blood, which is red. The veins carry the oxygenated blood, but it doesn't mean that it has to be. There is an exception here. When you see the word pulmonary, know that this is the opposite. So this is called pulmonary artery. Artery, but it's blue. It's deoxygenated. I don't care. Is it taking the blood away from the heart? Yes, the definition applies. It's called artery. It happened in this case that this artery contained deoxygenated blood. Does not change the fact. It's all about the blood direction. Away from the heart or to the heart. Out of the heart, into the heart. Out of the heart, artery. Into the heart, vein, irrespective. Let me add to that. It happened that all of these arteries are red, oxygenated, and all the veins are blue, deoxygenated, except this one is an exception. So here you have the pulmonary artery blue, carrying deoxygenated blood to the lung, and pulmonary veins 2 and 2, 2 right and 2 left, unlike the arteries, which is 1 and 1, carrying oxygenated blood back to the left atrium. From the left atrium to the left ventricle, passing through this bicuspid valve or mitral, and you see the same thing, chorda tendini and papillary muscles here. and it will go to the left ventricle. And then behind this, you don't see it, but behind it, the blood will go out to the aorta, passing through the aortic semilunar valve. Here it is. In this picture, it's obvious here. When you cut this to see the underneath, here it is. This is the aortic semilunar valve, and it will leave through it one way from the left atrium, left ventricle, I mean, to the ascending aorta, descending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta. This is how actually the valves looks like. Um, so this is the tricuspid valve. This is the bicuspid valve. And these two, this one here is the aortic. How did I know? It's in the center. Location is in the center. And this one here is the pulmonary one. In case you see something like that in the exam or something, you will see that this is 1, 2, 3 leaflets, tricuspid. This is 2, so it's bicuspid. Let me give you this rule. All the valves, all these valves are tricuspid. This is the only one that's bicuspid, but we don't call it tricuspid valve. We reserve this word for this, for tricuspid valve, which is a right AV valve. But just for your information, those two are also 3 leaflets. Look, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So all of them, except for this one, they have 3 leaflets. But we don't call it tricuspid. I'm just telling you how to know them from each other. Here is how it looks like. Here is the tricuspid. I don't know if they flipped it or what, but this is the tricuspid. This is more clear picture. You see the 3. When you see the 3, it's tricuspid. When you see the 2, it's the bicuspid. And here is 3, 3. So remember, all valves have 3 leaflets. All of them are tricuspid, but the name tricuspid is reserved to this valve only. Others, we don't call it tricuspid. I'm just letting you know. So this one in the center is the aortic, and this one is the pulmonary. Also, look at this blue surrounding this. This is the skeleton fibrous tissue to stabilize the valves in place. It is the skeleton of the heart. It's fibrous tissue around the different parts of the heart. Now here is the sequence. I mentioned it before. You start from the systemic circuit to the superior inferior vena cava, to the right atrium, to the right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, which is 2, to the lung. You get oxygenated, and then you come back pulmonary veins to the left atrium, to the left ventricle, to the aorta, to the systemic, and then you come back from here, complete circle. This sequence is extremely important, and you can see questions here, whether pictures like these or like the other ones, or you can actually see sequence. Like I can tell you which of the following is the sequence, the correct sequence. I gave you like 4 different sequences, and you to choose the right one. Like right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries. Right atrium, left atrium, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary, and so on. So you need to memorize this sequence because you can see questions asking about the sequence. Now the heart itself is receiving blood supply. Like I've been saying that the blood is oxygenated, it go to the systemic circulation, the different tissues and different cells, they take the oxygen from the blood and release carbon dioxide. How about the heart itself? Isn't the heart itself is an organ? Does the heart itself need also oxygen? Isn't it working? And doesn't it really need to release carbon dioxide? Yes. So this will lead us to the coronary circulation, which is the circulation of the heart itself. Here you have this one artery, right coronary artery, that's feeding the right side of the heart. And this is left coronary artery that's feeding the left side of the heart. Look at the opening here. It's in the very, very beginning of the aorta, in the origin of the aorta, right before you have these valves. I'm sorry, I mean right after the valves. So once the blood leaves the heart, it go to the coronary and then go to the aorta. Then you have some more branches. Right coronary artery will divide into two. One of them is called the posterior interventricular and the other one is called the marginal. What exactly is it feeding? I would say this is kind of too much. But the minimum is to know the branches. You have to. You can see either pictures, you will see pictures and questions. I'm telling you. Right coronary artery, feed the right side of the heart. How? By dividing into two, marginal and posterior interventricular. How about the left? It will feed, I'm trying to simplify. It's not that simple. It's not like right side of the heart and left side of the heart. It's not that simple. But I don't want to go deeper than that because this is what you have to know. I'm just simplifying. Just know that I'm simplifying. It's not that simple. So here is the left coronary artery will give you circumflex and anterior interventricular, which is going to feed the left side of the heart, mainly. And then after you feed them, the heart tissues, the heart cells will take action and release carbon dioxide. And then carbon dioxide will go back through something called cardiac veins. We will talk about it. It will collect into coronary sinus, and then it will collect all of those together. All these veins will take the blood back to one big vein, which is called coronary sinus, this. And that coronary sinus is go inside of the heart and is going to open into the right atrium. This is important piece of information here. Didn't I say that superior vena cava is bringing the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body to the right atrium, and inferior vena cava is bringing the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body into the right atrium? Also, the coronary sinus bring deoxygenated blood from the heart into the right atrium. So it's not two, it's three that bring deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus. So we look at this picture here. This red is right coronary artery. This is the right marginal. This is the left coronary artery. This is the anterior interventricular artery. And this is the circumflex. Where is the posterior interventricular artery? You don't see it because this is an anterior view. It's right here. The red. What does it mean? Anterior interventricular artery, the artery that's in between the ventricles in the front. Anterior interventricular. This is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle. In between, the artery is running in between, in this sulcus in between, in this depression, in here. It runs here. So it's in between the ventricles, interventricular. Anteriorly, anterior interventricular. How about the other side? In the back, posterior interventricular. This is a translation. In between the ventricles, anteriorly or posteriorly, in the front or in the back, because the two ventricles are like this. Right ventricle, left ventricle. So there is a sulcus in between in the front and another one in the back. The one that's located in this sulcus in the front is called anterior interventricular, and the one that's located in the back between those two in the back is posterior interventricular. This is what it means. Marginal means moving on this margin of the heart. What's the margin? The margin is between the anterior aspect and posterior aspect, like this. This is anterior, this is posterior. Do you see this margin? That's why the marginal. Circumflex, which is this one here, means circling around the neck. Translation. Like if I put something around my neck, an artery, I call it circumflex. So they have two atria on top and two ventricles at the bottom. In between, there is a sulcus, another sulcus, depression. So it will run into this, like considered like a neck. Like if you consider the atria, head, and you consider the ventricles, the body, in between this sulcus, something like a neck. So in this sulcus is circumflex. You can see a picture like this asking you about the details. I didn't mention the veins. Let me mention the veins. The veins, the most important veins are four. Three of them excuse me. There is great middle, small. Great. Middle, small. Cardiac veins. Great. Follow anterior interventricular. If you know what is the anterior interventricular, which is red, you see blue beside it, this is great. Middle, follow the posterior interventricular. Small, follow the left atrium, the left coronary and the marginal. The last one is this big one here, like this huge bulky one, which will get all these veins together. This is a coronary sinus that will open into the right atrium. There is one more thing that I forgot to mention, which is out of these atria, there is an auricle shaped, like your ears, out pouching. There's a pouch coming out of it. Like, look at this. This is not the right atrium. This is a pouch from the right atrium that's called the right auricle. Look at this. You see this purple part here? This is an auricle shaped, which is like your ears, outer ears, that's coming from the left atrium. So left atrium have left auricle pouching from it. Looks like a pouch. Right atrium have another auricle. So look at this. This, for example, this is the left atrium itself. You can see it from the back. And look at this auricle extending in the front that you can see it here. So this is the auricle. Is the auricle same as the atrium? No. Auricle is out pouching from the atrium. Out pouching from the atrium. Now the cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle is this cycle of contraction, relaxation of the heart. You contract, you push the blood out, you relax, you gain blood in. Contract, relax. Contraction is called systole. Relaxation is called diastole. And unlike what you think, that the whole heart contract, relax, no. The two atria contract and the ventricles relax. The ventricles contract, the atria relax. They alternate like this. When the atrium contracts, it pushes the blood down to the ventricles, which is relaxing. When the ventricles contract, the atria relax. It doesn't receive the blood back. It receives it outside from the body, and the blood will leave the ventricles. That's why we call atrial systole and ventricular systole. The relaxation is called diastole. Atrial diastole, ventricular diastole. This is not the most important thing. You can take a look at it. Some people have the heart completely failing. They can have heart transplants. There are some devices that can mechanically help the heart, like LVAD, implanted heart. You can implant part of the heart, or sometimes you can implant the whole heart with an artificial heart, for example, which is different than the transplant. Stem cell technology, they can take piece of the heart and they can make that. It's still under research. If you're interested to take a look at it, that's fine, but you don't have to. And this is what you're not responsible for. Now the cardiac cycle. Atria contract and the ventricle relax at the same time. So atrial systole and ventricular diastole happen at the same time. When the atrial systole, which is the atrium, contract, ventricular diastole, which is relaxed, to push the blood out of the atrium to the ventricle. The blood moves down passively and by contraction because of the gravity. And then the ventricles contract, which is systole, and the atria relax, which is diastole. It's not doing the opposite. It's not pumping the blood back. No. The atrial diastole is to receive the blood from the body, and the ventricular systole is to send the blood out to the body. So in contraction of the atria, which is atrial systole and ventricular diastole, pushing the blood to the ventricles, which is within. It's an inside job. From the atria to the ventricles. This is atrial systole and ventricular diastole. The opposite is not the same. The opposite is relating to the body. Atria relax to receive blood from the body, which is superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. And the ventricles contract to push the blood out to the aorta. Obviously, when the atria contract and the ventricle relax, it's an inside job. But when the ventricles contract, The AV valve has to close so that blood doesn't go back. What's the AV valve? Right AV valve, which is the tricuspid, left AV valve, which is the mitral or the bicuspid. They have to close. What opens then? How the blood leave the ventricles? Aortic and pulmonary semilunar valve, they need to open so that the blood leaves. Pulmonary to the lung, aortic to the systemic circulation. Now, while all of this is happening, there is a heart sound. When you put the stethoscope on the heart, we're supposed to hear some normal sounds. The normal sounds are 4 sounds. First heart, I'm talking about the normal now. First, second, third, and fourth. We're focusing more on the first 2 because practically speaking, this is what we can actually hear. Um, I remember in the medical school when we started to use this stethoscope, the first thing that we did is we put it on ourselves, on our own hearts, and familiarize ourselves with this lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. There are another 2, but honestly, it's extremely hard to listen to. Like, I can't pretend that unless I'm cardiologist, I'm not cardiologist, I'm gastroenterologist. So I can easily hear lub and dub, which is the first and second heart sound, because it's loud enough to hear with the stethoscope. Third and fourth are very faint, very weak sound that like cardiologists can hear it. But the first and second, yes, anybody, medical students, all of us, we used to hear it. First and second, not the third and fourth. On the other hand, as a healthcare professional, you need to know the abnormal sound. So this is the first thing that we did. Put the stethoscope on our hearts for a long time, like so many times. Hear it, hear it. So my ears now is programmed when I hear lub dub, I will say this is normal. If I hear something that's loud, not third and fourth, loud, but abnormal, you call that murmur. So remember that term. So lub dub, first, second, heart sound. You have to know where is the sound coming from. Lub, which is the first heart sound, is coming from closure of the AV valves, right and left, tricuspid and bicuspid. When they close, they make that sound, lub, lub, lub. So this sound is lub or first. Dub, which is the second heart sound, is the same, but from the pulmonary and aortic semilunar valve. They make another sound, they close and make sound like this. Lub, dub, lub, dub, lub, dub. AV valves, pulmonary. Semilunar. The 2 AV valves, semilunar. Lub, dub, lub, dub, lub, dub. AV valves, 2, semilunar, 2. You will be asked about this. What's lub? What's dub? Which one is first? Which one is second? Where does it come from? When we use a stethoscope, we don't put it randomly. There are 4 areas that the doctor or the nurses or the physician assistant, whatever, they need to put it in 4 different spots. We don't just go like anywhere around. There are specific spots. Here is one, which is if you wanted to listen to the aortic valve, which usually we listen to the valves, because this is where the heart sound, normal or abnormal, which is murmur, you need to put the closest location to the valves. So aortic area is when you wanted to listen to the aortic valve, second right intercostal. Pulmonary, second left intercostal. This is when you wanted to listen to the pulmonary valve. This is the third one, which is called tricuspid area. This is if you want to listen to the tricuspid, which is the right AV valve. Last one is closer to the apex. So this is right second, left second, intercostal. Intercostal means in between the ribs. If you feel your ribs, here is rib, and there are spaces in between. This is called intercostal. We can count. So here is the second intercostal. Right second intercostal, right left, right second and left second intercostal. Right second is the aortic, left second is the pulmonary. Left fourth, Number 4, intercostal, not the ribs, in between. This is a tricuspid. 5th, and a little bit lateral, this is the mitral. This is where you want to listen to the mitral or the bicuspid valve. Now, the cardiac muscles, unlike the skeletal muscles that we talked about before, work as something called functional sensatium. The whole 2 ventricles, all of them contract at the same time, and that the ventricles contract at the same time, not partially, not recruitment, not like your skeletal muscles. They work as sensatium. Sensatium means unit. The 2 atria contract, the 2 ventricles contract, not part of the atria, not part of the ventricles. Atria contract, it goes exactly like this. They alternate. Atrial sensatium, ventricular sensatium. They alternate. Now, the conduction system of the heart. Remember when we talked about the skeletal muscles, we discussed it in details, and we talked about these nerves carrying the signal, a neuromuscular junction, and then it goes to the muscles. And you remember the scenario, moving and going to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, releasing calcium, troponin, all that stuff. Here, it's different. You don't need a nerve to come to you to contract, unlike the skeletal muscles. Here you have an inside system. There is also an external nerves that come, but not to do the primary function of this contraction relaxation. It's to slow it down or speed it up. These are the nerves from outside. But there is an inside structure, which is called the conduction system. This conduction system, and by the way, you can see these pictures in your exam and in your lab. Any picture that I explained, you can see it in the lab or in the exam. So here you have SA node. This is the very first one, which is, this is like your battery. This is the one that keep charging, signal, signal. Throughout your entire life, it shouldn't stop at all. It will go through the atrium and then go to junctional fibers until it go to the AV node. AV bundle branches, Purkinje fibers, until it go to the ventricular system or to the ventricles. Let me see if we have a good picture here. Yeah, here it is. This is the SA node, and SA node means sinoatrial node. It is a node that's located between the sinus, which is this bulk right here, and which is the very first part of the aorta, and between the aorta. This is, so the name comes from the location, sinoatrial node. It's a node, and this is the pacemaker. This is the one that make the pace. What's the pace? Like how many contraction or how many signal per minute. Pacemaker. And then it will look at these arrows. It will propagate. It's an electrical signal. It will propagate inside the atrium. And then until it reach to the second node, which is the AV node. What's the AV node? What does it mean? Atrioventricular node. Why did you call it that name? It's in between the atria on top and the ventricle at the bottom. What else do you want to call it? Atrioventricular. It's in between the 2 atria and the 2 ventricles. AV or atrioventricular node. From which you will have a bundle that will divide. We call it the AV bundle, atrioventricular bundle. Why did you give it that name? It's a bundle between the atria and the ventricles. And then there will be 2 branches, right bundle branch, left bundle branch, the yellow. Right bundle branch and left bundle branch will give you Purkinje fibers. These are the smallest fibers. The Purkinje fibers will go to the muscles of the heart. So this is the sequence: SA node, internodal pathway, which is in the ventricles, AV node, AV bundle, bundle branches. By the way, the AV bundle is also called bundle of Hess. In case if you see this name, it's bundle anyway. AV bundle, bundle of Hess. You know, scientists put their name on it. So they call it AV bundle because of the location, bundle of Hess because of the scientist. You need to remember both names. So this is how it goes until it go to the ventricular syncytium, which means the ventricular muscles. So SA node is called the pacemaker, and this is the one that set the rhythm of the heart. 80 per minute, 70 per minute, 100 per minute. And then internodal pathway, which is in between the SA node and AV node, which is passing through the atria, basically. And then the junctional fibers, which go from the SA node to the AV node, which you call it the junction between the two nodes, and then AV node itself. Now I want you to notice something. The SA node, which is the pacemaker, it makes the pace fast, like from 80 to 100. AV node, on the other hand, make another pace that is slower, like from 40 to 60. Wait a minute, do we have two different paces? Yes, because this 80 to 100 is kind of fast. When it go to the AV nodes, the AV node will slow it down, and this is the function of the AV node. It acts as a gate. It will say, okay, wait a minute. You're coming from 80 to 100. 80 to 100 is kind of fast. So I'm going to slow it down, and this is the function of the AV nodes. Now the ACG. ECG or EKG is if you're tracking or tracing the electrical signal that I just talked about of the heart, if you put these electrodes in different spots, irrespective of the details, you will end up having a shape that consists of three components: P wave, QRS complex, and T wave. I want you to memorize the shape because we can ask you, what is this, what is this, what is this, and what make it. So the P wave, I will show it to you, but it comes from atrial depolarization. Memorize this. The atria depolarize. Depolarization, we talked about it before, means you're creating an action potential or electrical signal after which the atrial contract. QR complex is ventricular depolarization, creating an electrical signal in the ventricles. Ventricular, which will be followed by ventricular contraction. But what's my focus? What should I remember that I will be asked about? P wave, atrial depolarization. QRS, which is three components, but you will be asked about it as it is. QRS complex, as a complex. Ventricular depolarization. T wave, ventricular repolarization. It will repolarize again. But if you notice that, you'll see atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization, ventricular repolarization. There is one missing here. Where is the atrial repolarization? Yes, it happened at the same time of the QRS complex. It merged in, it's hidden, you don't see it. In case if you asked about it. Why you have three? You should have four. Atrial depolarization, atrial repolarization, ventricular depolarization, ventricular repolarization. In reality, you have only three. Where is the fourth? It comes at the same time of the QRS, you don't see it. Simply, it's hidden. So if you look at a picture like this, the first one here is the P. This, it will go up and down, like, let me make it a little bit bigger. Or this is the P wave. Now I added the QRS, QRS. You add the QRS. And this is the T. You added the T. I wouldn't focus much on this, but you have to know this. P, QRS, T. What I want you to know here is, where is it? If I put an arrow on one of those, you tell me what is this and what caused this to happen. The heart sound that happened here is lub, which is the first one, dub, which is the second one, third and fourth. We're not going to. By the way, if this is just for your information, the third and fourth, they come from the turbulence of the blood. That's why it's very faint, like the blood turbulence or the turbulence of the blood. It make another two sound that's very faint, very light sound, which is the third and fourth. but the baseline, the bottom line is you have to know the reason for one and two and what's murmur. So I'm going to stop here because of our time.